Okay, so now going back to number 15, once you understand even versus odd and the idea of changing this into sine versus cosine, the cosine of negative x, because cosine is even, that's the same thing as cosine of x, so you can just rewrite it cosine of x. Okay, the tangent of x is equal to, of negative x, is equal to the sine of negative x over the cosine of negative x minus the sine of x. I'm just going to rewrite that. Okay, remember the sine is odd, so the sine of negative x is equal to the negative sine of x. So I'm just going to put a negative here and just make that x. The cosine of negative x, which is even, makes that just the cosine of x. All right, so when you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. So I've got the cosine of x, and I'm going to flip that, times the cosine of x over the sine of x, negative sine of x, minus the sine of x. Okay, so what I've got is, and I'm going to move it back up here, the cosine times the cosine is the cosine squared of x over the negative sine of x minus the sine of x. Now, to be able to add these are like fractions. If you had 1/2 minus 5, you'd have to get common denominators. Same thing here. That's over 1. You're going to have to multiply both sides by the sine of x so that, actually you can multiply by the negative sine of x. It doesn't really matter, but I kind of like it that way because this ends up being the cosine squared of x over the negative sine of x minus, that would end up being negative times negative is positive, so plus the sine squared of x over negative sine of x. Okay, so they have common denominators now, so you can combine them. Cosine squared of x plus the sine squared of x over the negative sine of x. Well, cosine plus sine is equal to 1, so 1 over negative sine of x. One of the sine of x is the cosecant of x, but it's negative. So the answer is negative cosecant of x.